Brucon t-shirt.
Bonus. Thank you.
Okay, the next two speakers are like a tag team wrestling team. The first one will tell you how you can gather information using information on the internet and other public information sources. And the other Chris will tell you what you can do with this information. So let's give a big applause for the first speaker, Chris Gates, Open Source Information Gathering.
All right, thanks everyone. Chris Gates, we're going to talk about OSINT. Oop, what happened? Went crazy here. All right, so this is me. I blog carlownage.attackresearch.com. I'm a new member of the Metasploit project. Attack Research, I'm a new member of that. And you can follow me on Twitter. If you want more, you can use what hopefully I'm going to teach you by the time I'm done here, or you can bribe me with beer afterwards as well. So I'm not going to try to read every slide, but I will read this one to you. So information gathering denotes the collection of information before the attack. The idea is to collect as much information as possible about the target, which may be valuable later. And so that's like Christian Martello, who's out of Spain, and he'll actually be down at Source Barcelona next week if you want to catch some other info gathering stuff by him. Some other, I think it's from Wikipedia, is an OSINT, Open Source Intelligence, an information processing discipline that involves finding, selecting, and acquiring information from public sources and using that to gain and produce actionable intelligence. And that's kind of why I picked that, was the actionable intelligence part. So taking, not saying I have a whole bunch of hosts, or I have a whole bunch of emails, or I have a whole bunch of metadata, taking all that information and being able to do something with it when you do a full scope pen test. So basically, when I look at this, I say I wanted to turn domain X, company Y, whoever is paying me or whoever we're going after, I want to turn that into a shell, right? Everybody loves popping one of those. Or, more importantly, and what I think Chris and I are going to talk about, is turning that information into data. And what makes the company money? One of our big things we like to preach is if you can get your customers and your clients to stop thinking about pen testing and security as boxes on a network and more about what makes that company money, you can start to drive home real security. At least that's kind of what I preach. So that's the stuff that makes them money. That's the stuff that we're really trying to protect. And that's the stuff that I want to find if I'm getting paid to pen test you. So why do it? It simulates real-world reconnaissance. Some people have talked a little bit about that. We're all about real-world. The problem is a lot of the real-world pen tests we get put on, we can touch 15 boxes in the DMZ. I can't send a client-side attack. I can't do this. I can't do that. Attackers don't work that way. So we want to, anything on the net is in scope for a bad guy, right? So users are fair game. I'm not going to say, well, they're kind of off limits. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because they didn't get their user awareness training. And then any boxes I own are in scope. No boxes are off limits. And more importantly, as a company, do you know where your information that you put out there is and what information have employees or other people put out on the net about yourself? So those are some important questions to ask that most companies, I find, don't. They're like, oh, crap, I didn't know you could enumerate everyone in my domain. That's not good. So here's our typical pen testing methodology. I think everyone who's owned a copy Hacking Exposed, minus the right report, you've seen that. That's what we focus on currently. We're really, really good at scanning. I can port scan about 50 different ways. I can exploit stuff. I got core, canvas, Metasploit, and I can write the report and get paid. So here's what an attacker does, is I discover what makes they want to discover what makes the company money or what's valuable. I'm going to do whatever it takes, and I'm going to steal it. Right? That's the real-world hacking methodology. And that's when you pull your full scope guys and your red team guys in. That's what you need to be trying to have those guys do for you. So definitions. I worked really hard to find the worst piece of clip art I could find for the sad face. I hope it worked. So a couple types of information gathering. We got passive, semi-passive, and active. So with passive, we take great care that the organization we're taking a look at doesn't know it's being profiled. It's very time intensive, it's slow, we don't send any packets to the target. So if we want to look at something on the site, we got to hope there's a Google cache of it, we got to do all these other things. So your key for there is passive, no traffic. Semi-passive is where we would say we're going to profile the target with things that would appear normal. So if they serve up a web page, I can go to the web page. I'm not going to throw a directory buster at it and try to find every directory on there. I'm not going to wget it yet because that's not normal traffic for a website, but normal profiling, things that wouldn't be too out of normalcy. And then we have active. So in a good organization, active profiling should be detected. You're going to start wgetting the whole site, making a mirror. We're going to look for unpublished servers. We're going to do DNS lookups. Try to find out everything the company owns. Start pulling down every file. And if you find someone that pulls down every file on your whole website, someone's probably doing some intelligence gathering on your organization. So we call that some abnormal traffic. And then we have two general categories. We have infrastructure, which is all those things that make the internet work, and then we have people and organization, and we'll go into that. So infrastructure, any organization on the internet has an internet presence, and there's all kinds of things that make that presence usable. So DNS, routing, BGP, servers, you're serving something up. So infrastructure profiling is pretty easy to do and automate. It's much more easier because all that stuff has to automatically get filtered around the internet to work. The people organization stuff is much more manual. So this is kind of how I want to visualize infrastructure. I want to know how things fit together. But really, this is what I want to make. I want to make one of these on a target without them knowing I'm doing it, at least from a remote perspective. So that's just a big giant diagram full of stuff, but you get the idea. And then so for people and organizations, I want to know how many people will support the organization. Who runs, well, how runs the company, but also who runs IT, who runs the finance, who are the important people, who are the decision makers, who are the guys that need to allow me access, who are the people that I need to social engineer to get the information that I want. And what's difficult about this is it's much more manual, it's hard to automate. How do I know which Chris Gates is the right one? How do I know which John Doe is the right one? A computer is not going to be able to do that. Maltego may spit out, 10 John Does. It's going to take a human analyst to look at that and say, that John Doe goes with that email and that Facebook profile. That's the right guy. That's who I need to go for. So that's kind of what we're doing. I want to link as many people on the net to an organization as I can. So where does it come from? Web 2.0. I love Web 2.0. Ever since that, it's all the, I'd say, Chris would probably agree, I'm going to bring in, is that that's where all the information is now. Everyone gives it to me freely. Yeah, I want everyone to know all my business all the time. Where's our Twitter guy, right? And then all the other public stuff that, public data and records, so Choice Point and Telus, all these stuff that gets imported into this giant database that people get made on people, private data we pay for, and then more importantly, data that's placed there by our target organization on purpose, and then data placed there by the target's users. All that making sense? Am I lying? Anybody think I'm lying yet? One? Okay. So how do I find it? Information that's mandatory for the web, and Sharon talked about this a little bit this morning. Your DNS records, your web stuff, your mail, name server records, who is information, data that's placed there by the target, and then voluntary, and then also by law. A lot of this information that we need is, anybody that's got stock is required to file reports every year. That information can be useful to us. And then also plenty of information that's placed there by the target's users. I just got to slow down. So, considerations. All that data can be hard to sort through. We need some sort of automated analysis tools that help us out. So Maltego is great for that. Has anybody not heard of Maltego? Everybody's heard of Maltego? A couple people? All right, good. We're going to talk about Maltego quite a bit. And then other data, it's much easier for a human to go through that data. And Maltego is actually just now created Maltego Mesh, which is actually a Firefox plugin, which allows you to, as you browse, say, that's important, that's important, that's important, send that to Maltego, and we can start working with that.